What happens when a broken god falls into a world of ninjas? Smash that PayPal link below to fuel the hype, cause this is about to get insane.
The silent void of space is violently torn apart as a dimensional rift bleeds raw, pulsating energy across the endless stars. A battered Saiyan space pod is violently expelled from the anomaly, carrying the weight of a shattered prince inside. Its navigation systems are completely fried, leaving the metal coffin at the absolute mercy of a brand new world's gravity. Below lies a realm governed by chakra, ancient clans, and fragile ninja alliances, entirely unprepared for this celestial anomaly. Hitting the atmosphere like a wrathful meteor, the pod incinerates everything in its downward trajectory, screaming toward the earth. The protective glass groans under the sheer pressure, shielding the dormant warrior from a fiery atmospheric death. To the unsuspecting villagers below, it looks like a beautiful falling star, but it brings only devastation. The ancient forest bends and breaks, its centuries-old branches turning to ash before the celestial object even strikes. For a fleeting, terrifying moment, time seems to stand completely still before the inevitable cataclysm occurs. The impact obliterates the landscape, unleashing a shockwave that scars the very foundation of the Shinobi world. A devastating tsunami of earth and splintered wood flattens miles of ancient woodland in a matter of seconds. When the dust finally settles, a massive crater remains, glowing like an angry, unhealed scar upon the earth. Resting at the epicenter of the destruction is a mysterious metallic vessel, completely defying the logic of ninja weaponry. The pressure seal breaks, exhaling a freezing breath of cryogenic vapor into the burning, ash-filled air. From the shadows of the metallic womb, a hand emerges, gripping the scorched steel with terrifying, raw strength. The fallen prince steps onto foreign soil. He is battered, exhausted, and utterly devoid of his former fiery spirit. His eyes betray a shattered soul. The death of his eternal rival has left him hollow, stripping away his warrior's purpose. Surrounded by an ocean of destruction he didn't even intentionally cause, the Saiyan prince feels nothing but agonizing apathy. He tries to spark his energy, but his spirit is broken. The immense power that once conquered planets now refuses to ignite. But as he breathes in the alien air, his heightened senses pick up on a strange, unnatural flow of energy weaving through the world.
What is this weak, pitiful energy? Is this even ki? Pathetic!
His quiet despair is rudely interrupted. Drawn by the massive explosion, two notorious predators of the ninja world step out from the shadows. Kakuzu's cold eyes scan the wreckage, instantly calculating the monetary value of the bizarre metallic ship and its mysterious pilot. Beside him, the immortal zealot Hidan smiles, completely oblivious to the fact that he is staring death right in the face. The tension thickens as the apex predators of this world attempt to corner a god who has lost his will to fight.
Well damn! Looks like Lord Jashin just dropped us a brand new sacrifice straight from the sky. Kakuzu.
Vegeta doesn't see assassins. He sees noisy, arrogant insects buzzing around him when all he wants is absolute, dead silence. Believing the stranger to be an easy kill, the immortal fanatic launches a devastating strike aimed right at the Saiyan's throat. But the blade shatters instantly upon his skin. The ninja's ultimate weapon is completely useless against the physical durability of a Saiyan. In that fraction of a second, the Akatsuki realize their fatal mistake. The broken prince is about to pass his merciless judgment. The immortal fanatic stares at the jagged stump of his ultimate weapon, his bloodthirsty grin rapidly dissolving into sheer, unfiltered confusion.
Bro! Are you actually kidding me right now? What kind of broken jutsu is your neck made of?
Vegeta merely glares at the screaming fool. He doesn't even bother to shift his stance against such a pathetically weak display. Realizing the stranger possesses an impenetrable physical defense, Kakuzu steps up, calculating a much deadlier, ninjutsu-based method of execution. Thick, dark tendrils erupt violently from the treasurer's back, writhing like a nest of vipers eager to taste fresh blood. The hardened tendrils shoot forward at blinding speed, aiming to pierce the alien armor and crush the arrogant stranger's internal organs. The deadly wires strike with the force of a battering ram, tightly coiling around him to crush his bones into dust. Kakuzu yanks back with enough raw, concentrated kinetic force to easily decapitate a fully grown, giant summon beast in seconds. But the prince doesn't even blink. The legendary ninja wire simply snaps against his skin like brittle, dried twigs in winter. Masking his growing panic, Kakuzu summons his grotesque elemental spirits, commanding a massive torrent of wind-amplified fire to obliterate the target. A raging inferno swallows the crater, burning so fiercely that the surrounding rocks instantly melt back into bubbling, volatile liquid magma. As the smoke clears, the devastating truth is revealed. Vegeta stands completely unbothered, his royal armor completely immune to the heat. A cold drop of sweat rolls down the stitched face. For the first time in a century, the immortal bounty hunter feels true fear. A cold drop of sweat rolls down the stitched face. For the first time in a century, the immortal bounty hunter feels true fear. Slowly, methodically, the fallen prince raises his hand. A terrifying, concentrated sphere of pure cosmic destruction ignites within his palm. Slowly, methodically, the fallen prince raises his hand. A terrifying, concentrated sphere of pure cosmic destruction ignites within his palm.
You're both incredibly loud and utterly worthless.
With a dismissive flick of his wrist, the Saiyan releases the energy, unleashing a catastrophic wave of pure, unfiltered destruction. The blinding beam tears through the landscape, moving so fast it completely erases the darkness of the night sky. Kakuzu desperately hardens his skin with his ultimate earth technique, crossing his arms in a futile attempt to withstand the cosmic blast. It is completely useless. Upon contact, his invincible armor cracks and shatters into a million microscopic pieces instantly. The demonic masks shriek in agony as their dark chakra is effortlessly overwhelmed and purified by the blinding cosmic heat. There is no blood, no final words. Kakuzu's physical body simply melts, breaking down at a subatomic level within milliseconds. The ancient, immortal treasurer of the Akatsuki is vaporized without a trace, erased from the timeline as if he never existed. The devastating wave continues, carving a massive, glowing canyon through the continent, leaving nothing but boiling glass in its wake. As the brilliant light fades, the deafening roar is replaced by a haunting, terrifying silence hanging heavily over the scorched earth. Caught merely on the edge of the blast, Hidan's body is incinerated, leaving only his severed head to launch violently into the air. The decapitated head bounces pathetically across the vitrified dirt, coming to a halt at the pristine boots of the Saiyan warrior. His eyes bulge in sheer terror, mouth unhinged in a silent scream as the immortal zealot finally comprehends absolute, inescapable despair. The prince turns his back in disgust. In this fragile world of tricks, the true brutality of a Saiyan requires absolutely no effort. Whispers of a godlike destroyer wiping out the Akatsuki spread like wildfire, eventually reaching a prodigy consumed entirely by his own arrogant vengeance. Driven by the undeniable pride of the Uchiha bloodline, Sasuke tracks down the anomaly, entirely convinced that his ocular powers are completely unrivaled. Standing atop the jagged cliff, the fallen prince stares into the horizon, completely uninterested in the insignificant chakra signature approaching from behind. Feeling deeply insulted by the stranger's blatant disregard, the young Uchiha decides to introduce himself using his most lethal, high-speed assassination technique. His hands blur flawlessly through the ancient seals, forcibly gathering a terrifying amount of unstable lightning chakra directly into his left palm. His cursed eyes snap open, bleeding into a brilliant red as the Sharingan locks its merciless, hyper-perceptive gaze onto the oblivious prey. The Chidori ignites with the deafening shriek of 1,000 birds, a condensed blade of lightning meant to pierce through absolutely anything. With explosive momentum, the young prodigy launches himself across the battlefield, moving so fast he leaves a burning trench in his wake. Closing the distance in a fraction of a second, Sasuke aims his ultimate assassination technique squarely at the arrogant stranger's unprotected heart. The Uchiha dives in for the kill, expecting a desperate reaction, but the prince simply stands there, welcoming the highly lethal strike. With absolute certainty in his victory, Sasuke drives the lightning blade forward, fully expecting to effortlessly puncture the man's chest cavity. The devastating impact triggers a massive electrical explosion, shredding the surrounding boulders into dust, but the Saiyan doesn't budge a single inch. The sheer magnitude of the jutsu engulfs the entire cliffside in a dome of rampant lightning, seemingly incinerating everything trapped inside it. Inside the blinding storm, Sasuke pushes with every ounce of physical strength he possesses, but his hand hits an immovable, impenetrable wall. The fallen prince finally looks down. His expression isn't one of pain or anger, but of overwhelming, soul-crushing boredom. The legendary assassination jutsu completely fizzles out, exhausted of chakra, leaving the young prodigy frozen in a humiliating, utterly powerless standstill. Staring at the point of impact, the horrifying truth sets in. There isn't a single scratch on the armor. 0 damage. His cursed eyes widen to their absolute limits, desperately trying to comprehend a physical durability that completely breaks the laws of physics. The prince uncrosses his arms. He doesn't even bother utilizing his energy, opting to teach a brutal lesson using purely raw, physical violence. With zero hesitation, he delivers a merciless strike, a punch so brutally heavy it creates a localized shockwave of displaced air. The Uchiha prodigy violently folds around the fist, the breath instantly crushed from his lungs as his ribs fracture under the immense pressure. Launched backward at supersonic speed, the boy becomes a broken ragdoll, completely unable to halt his own devastating, humiliating momentum. He violently crashes into a solid rock formation, shattering the ancient boulder into pieces and burying himself under a heavy mountain of debris. As the dust clears, the prodigy is left slumped in the rubble, violently coughing up blood, desperately fighting just to maintain his consciousness. Yet, despite the agonizing pain, he forces his head up. His cursed eyes blaze with an intense, venomous, and completely unyielding hatred. The prince pauses. Looking down into those hateful eyes, he recognizes the exact same toxic, deep-rooted Saiyan pride that once consumed his own soul. Towering over the broken boy like an immovable monument, the fallen prince crosses his arms, deciding to deliver a brutally harsh reality check.
What can those flashy red eyes actually do? Get on your feet. Stop wallowing in your own pity. Don't disgrace your warrior bloodline.
The harsh reprimand doesn't break him. Instead, it brutally strips away his arrogance, forcefully reigniting his terrifying, unyielding obsession with absolute power. The skies over the great ninja war darken, not with storm clouds, but with the suffocating weight of absolute, paralyzing despair. Standing high above the battlefield, the legendary ghost of the Uchiha clan looks down upon the fragile ninja alliance. With the eyes of a god, Madara decides to utterly crush their fragile hope by showcasing true, insurmountable despair. He weaves the ancient seals, pulling down a catastrophic force from the very heavens to wipe the slate completely clean. The heavens tear open, revealing a colossal, apocalyptic nightmare descending rapidly toward the fragile earth below. A massive, burning meteorite shatters the sky, plunging the battlefield into an unnatural, terrifying darkness. Confronted with the absolute wrath of a god, the unified ninja army instantly shatters, dropping their weapons in total surrender. Even the strongest Kaguya are left paralyzed. How can mere mortals possibly fight against the crushing weight of the heavens? And just when they accept their doom, a second, even larger stone emerges, completely extinguishing whatever tiny flicker of hope remained. Madara crosses his arms, smiling wickedly as he prepares to listen to the magnificent symphony of absolute, undeniable annihilation. But the symphony is violently interrupted. A blinding streak of raw energy rips across the darkened sky at unimaginable speeds. Drawn by the massive fluctuation of energy, the fallen prince abruptly halts in mid-air, floating effortlessly amidst the gravitational chaos. Caught between the wrath of a false god and an ocean of trembling mortals, the Saiyan simply hovers in absolute silence. He looks down at the legendary armies of this world. Tens of thousands of supposed warriors, weeping in the dirt like frightened children. The thick, suffocating atmosphere of fear radiating from the army is met only by a sharp click of the prince's tongue. Disgusted by the mortals, Vegeta finally turns his attention upward toward the apocalyptic threat descending rapidly to crush them all. Madara's triumphant smile vanishes instantly. His divine eyes cannot comprehend the man casually floating directly in the path of total destruction. Faced with an attack designed to shatter the world, the prince of all Saiyans responds with a long, undeniably exhausted yawn. He casually wipes a tear from his eye. The grandest display of power this world has ever seen is literally putting him to sleep.
You throw a rock and call yourself a god? How embarrassingly pathetic!
Madara's god complex violently shatters. The absolute disrespect cuts far deeper than any physical weapon ever could. Sick of the theatrics, the Saiyan ignites his energy, preparing to swat the apocalyptic threat out of his sky like a bothersome fly. He pulls his arm back, gathering an unfathomable amount of raw kinetic force into a single, devastating point of impact. With a single explosive burst, the prince launches himself upward, aiming to shatter the Uchiha's ultimate illusion of divinity. Moving faster than the mortal eye can process, Vegeta becomes an unstoppable projectile of pure, unadulterated cosmic violence. The immovable object of the ninja world is about to meet an unstoppable force from a completely different universe. Upon contact, the sheer kinetic density of his strike instantly halts the impossible momentum of the planetary jutsu. In a single, breathtaking display of physical supremacy, the prince shatters the descending nightmare completely in half. Bursting through the rubble without a single scratch, he rears back, preparing to completely vaporize the pathetic remnants. The sky ignites in brilliant gold as the Super Saiyan prepares to deliver his final, devastating judgment upon the false god. Tired of the pathetic theatrics, the Saiyan shoots upward like a blinding bullet, aiming straight for the heart of the descending apocalypse. Tearing off his damaged glove, he extends a single bare hand, preparing to halt a planetary extinction event with sheer physical might. The collision defies all earthly physics. The apocalyptic momentum of the jutsu is violently, instantly halted by a single human palm. The sky freezes. The unstoppable wrath of the Uchiha god is effortlessly caught, turning his ultimate weapon into a harmless, floating pebble. The raw kinetic density is so unimaginably immense that the very fabric of space begins to fracture and splinter like brittle glass.
Impossible! He stopped the Tengai Shinsei with his bare hand? What kind of monster is this?
Genuine panic breaches his ancient composure. Madara hastily summons his Perfect Susanoo, shielding himself within the ultimate, unbreakable Uchiha armor. High above, the prince merely smirks. If this world worships power, he will show them a terrifying glimpse of genuine cosmic divinity. A blinding eruption of light shatters the night. The golden aura of the Super Saiyan violently swallows the darkness, rewriting the atmosphere itself. Spreading his arms wide, he gathers a terrifying concentration of raw, crackling ki, condensing the power of a dying star between his palms. His teal eyes lock onto the target with absolute, merciless judgment. The air screams as the cosmic energy reaches a critical, catastrophic mass. With a deafening roar, a colossal beam of golden destruction tears diagonally across the sky, leaving absolutely no room for escape or survival. The legendary jutsu is instantly swallowed by the light, vaporizing billions of tons of solid rock at a molecular level without a single trace. Unimpeded, the Golden Judgment continues its violent downward trajectory, hurtling directly toward the arrogant Uchiha and his supposedly invincible chakra defense. The beam violently slams into the Perfect Susanoo. The so-called absolute defense of the Uchiha clan shatters under the overwhelming cosmic pressure. In a blinding flash, the upper half of the colossal samurai is completely erased, leaving the false god entirely exposed and paralyzed by shock. Before the undead zombie can even process the destruction, the Super Saiyan vanishes, reappearing instantly with a speed that shatters ocular perception. With brutal, unapologetic speed, he violently grabs Madara by the throat, hoisting the legendary ghost off his feet like a piece of trash. The untouchable deity of the shinobi world helplessly kicks his legs, clawing desperately at an arm that feels like solid, immovable titanium. Staring into the golden fire, Madara realizes with horrifying clarity that his ancient power and grand schemes are entirely, laughably worthless. Dangling helplessly above the silent, awestruck army, the ultimate villain of history is reduced to nothing more than a pathetic, humiliated ragdoll. The prince tightens his vice-like grip, the sickening crunch of reanimated flesh echoing loudly across the dead silent, completely paralyzed battlefield. With a look of absolute, unapologetic disgust, the Saiyan prince prepares to deliver his final, soul-crushing verdict to the broken legend.
You call yourself a god? You're nothing but a fragile insect playing with borrowed toys!
With utter disdain, he hurls the broken deity into the dirt, permanently shattering the Uchiha's arrogant pride into a million irrecoverable pieces.
Did he just one-hand a meteor? Ooh, Team Ninja or Team Saiyan? Comment right now.
Suddenly, the mother of chakra manifests from the void. With a mere thought, she violently shatters the very fabric of reality itself. In the blink of an eye, the battlefield is replaced by a terrifying alien dimension where gravity itself becomes an inescapable weapon. The sheer, unnatural weight of the world instantly slams the hero of the leaf into the dirt, entirely paralyzing his movements. Beside him, the Uchiha prodigy crashes just as violently. His divine eyes are utterly useless when his muscles refuse to move. Hovering gracefully above her helpless prey, the rabbit goddess observes the paralyzed mortals with eyes devoid of any earthly mercy. This dimension's gravity is so unimaginably immense that even the solid stone mountains crumble and collapse under their own impossible weight. Fighting to keep his organs from shutting down, the blonde ninja realizes that willpower alone cannot rewrite the fundamental laws of physics. A chilling smirk graces her lips. In her absolute domain, the resistance has ended. Or so the ancient goddess falsely assumes. But the goddess made a fatal miscalculation. Amidst the crushed landscape, the prince of all Saiyan stands completely, effortlessly upright. He rolls his shoulders casually, relaxing his muscles in an environment scientifically designed to liquefy the human body.
You call this heavy? My wife's training room has a better warm-up setting. How pathetic!
The goddess completely freezes. Her divine intellect violently short-circuits, utterly unable to comprehend a physical durability that defies her universe. With a deafening roar, the Saiyan erupts into his ascended state. The sheer, overwhelming pressure of his ki violently rejects the dimension's gravity. The cosmic gate seals shut. The god of Shinobi is left broken in the dirt, abandoned in absolute, humiliating silence. Ignoring the impossible gravity entirely, he explodes off the earth, launching himself upward with a speed that completely shatters the sound barrier. The all-seeing Byakugan strains to its absolute limit, yet the mother of chakra completely loses track of the alien predator. He materializes directly in her blind spot. No fancy hand signs, no elemental jutsu, just the terrifying promise of pure, raw violence. With merciless precision, he buries his fist into her abdomen. A strike so unfathomably heavy it physically ruptures the heavy atmosphere. The untouchable goddess violently folds. For the first time in millennia, she feels the excruciating, humiliating agony of true mortal suffering. Brutally locking her down by her hair, the prince ensures there is no escape. The reign of the rabbit goddess is officially over. With ruthless efficiency, the prince pins the mother of chakra beneath his boot, reducing her absolute divine authority to dust. He aims a concentrated sphere of pure cosmic erasure directly at her skull. One twitch of his finger, and she ceases to exist. For the first time since the dawn of chakra, the immortal goddess feels the cold, suffocating grip of absolute, paralyzing fear.
Open a spatial gate back to my universe right now, or I'll scatter your atoms across this wasteland!
Terrified for her miserable life, she obeys, violently tearing open a cross-universal rift leading back to the Saiyan's home dimension. His point brutally proven, the prince powers down. He turns his back on the shattered deity, entirely uninterested in this fragile world. But before stepping into the void, he pauses, casting one final, piercing look back into the crushing gravity of the alien dimension. The broken Uchiha prodigy locks eyes with the alien warrior, absorbing the silent, overwhelming weight of a truly unbreakable will. No words are spoken. The prince leaves behind a legacy of absolute power, shattering their arrogant illusions forever as he departs. The cosmic gate seals shut. The god of Shinobi is left broken in the dirt, abandoned in absolute, humiliating silence.
That's what a real prince does. What crossover should we break next? Subscribe and drop it below.